So Transformers, week 1, day 1 for some of you. I hope you've had the opportunity to at least get through your transformation book. You'll notice there on about page 3, maybe page 4, we're talking about how to listen in, how to get involved with some of our seminars, some of our workshops. And this is the first one we want to put up for you, is a little bit about the near perfect day. If you could have the perfect day, what could it look like? What maybe should it look like? And then how does that carry into the week? So I've got Ruby with me today to talk about how she maps her days and gets it set. So we're just going to do this as a bit of a Q&A, just let it flow for a little bit. If you guys have got questions afterwards, by all means post at the bottom, and maybe there's something specific in this for you. But Ruby has mapped out a little bit for us what her day looks like. So Ruby, just want to hit us with your wake up time, your wake up sort of ritual. What do you do to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to be one of those people that would get up, just before I went to work, and I always felt like it really rushed me, and I hate being rushed and sort of overwhelmed by the day. I now put my alarm on a little bit earlier, and that just allows me to really get up and wake up properly and just make sure that my morning start and my morning rituals are really setting me up to have a successful day. So I wake up at 5:30. I know that might sound early to some, but I do have clients at 7, so that just allows me enough time to really make sure that I'm, to start with performing at my best with my clients, but it does just help me with my own health as well, because that's obviously a priority. So I'll wake up at 5:30, I'll have a big glass of lemon water just to make sure that I'm really cleansing and rehydrating my body from the night before. We do get quite dehydrated overnight. Obviously we're going 8 or so hours without having any fluids, so just making sure that you are starting the day with some water is excellent. You can have your coffee afterwards, but just do start it on a positive note. And then I'll sit down and I'll actually spend 10 minutes or so planning my day. So I've got this little journal here. I think it's just called like the Thrive Journal or something. But basically it allows you to sit down and really think about planning the perfect day, but also thinking about what you're grateful for the day, which I know might sound a little bit silly for some, but it really does just help you set your day up to be quite positive and successful as well. So some of the questions that it asks you is what you're grateful for the day, what you're excited about for the day, but also what your focus is and what your key focus is, and your number 1 priority and your second one and your third one, so you can really sort of map out what you need to get done, and you can tick that off straight away.
Okay, so you're up at 5:30.
Yep.
First thing you do is water.
Yep.
You put a bit of lemon in there. Then you plan your day.
Yes.
How much time do you spend in the morning prepping your day?
Probably no more than 10 minutes. It shouldn't take long. Map it out all on paper, everything you've got in your brain, just pop it in your diary. Put a to-do list so you can sort of get everything that's stressing you out. If you're like me, or I know Rowan as well, will sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and have a million things in our mind, put it in your diary, and that way it's on paper, you won't forget about it. Put it straight in here, and then you can tick it off once it's done.
Cool, so then off to work.
Off to work. Now, I do get to work at 7, so I, first, if I haven't prepped my food the night before, which I'll talk about at the end of the day, I'll make sure that all my meals are prepped and ready to go, because I'm at work so early, I'll bring all my meals to work.
Cool. Alright, so how many hours at work?
So I usually work from 7 till 4, whether that be in the gym or from a cafe, but I pack all my food, so I'm not stuck somewhere without some food.
Cool. How many meals are you planning to get
in the day?
In your day?
Yep, so before I train, I'll have 3 to 4 meals.
So that's breakfast,
lunch, and a pre-workout meal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Sometimes an extra snack, just depending on how big my breakfast and lunch are as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think everyone's got a different starting time with work. Some are early, some might be a bit later, some will eat breakfast at home. You do breakfast at work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we all get to smell it and get hungry and then want another meal. So you're getting those meals in. How much time do you give yourself before that pre-workout meal?
Yep, so I make sure that I have enough time to digest my food. Myself, I know that if I have a high fat meal, it just sits in my stomach. Fats take a lot longer for the body to digest. So my pre-workout meal, I'll have an hour and a half before training. So I'll have it about 3:30 because I train at 5. And that will consist of some carbs and some protein. So my favourite pre-workout meal is protein oats. Really easy, just pop a scoop of protein powder in with your oats, a little bit of almond milk and mix it together. Sometimes I'll have it warm or cold, but that's a really really good pre-workout meal for me.
So you do an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I got to admit, when I go to train and I've got maybe 45 minutes, I go, shit,
Yeah.
I haven't eaten.
What
What am I going to eat if it's like I've only got 45 minutes, an
Yeah.
hour, half an hour before?
I find honestly a piece of fruit is an excellent option. That way it's absorbed quite quickly into the body. It doesn't sit in your stomach. So I know if you do a quite intense cardio session, you don't want it feeling like it's going to come up again, which smoothies can do for some people. So if you've got a little liquid, that can sometimes sit in the top of your stomach. So a bit of banana with peanut butter, rice cakes as well. That's a good one. So just have a rice cake or two with some peanut butter or even some avocado or something on there. I know that is a little bit higher in fats, but you might be okay with that. But just something that is not going to be sitting there, but is going to give you enough energy and it's going to be digestible.
Not come back up halfway
Exactly.
through. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got through the day, you've spent all that time, then you train
Yep.
about an hour and a half later. So for you, what time do you normally train?
I train from 5 to about 6. I don't spend too much time training. I think that the intensity is the most important thing. So many people I find spend hours in the gym because they think that they'll get the most benefit from that session. But focus on your intensity. If you focus on having intense sessions with short rest periods, you're going to get a lot more out of the session than spending half the time on the phone or chatting with people around you.
Cool. So dinner then comes
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
What's your, do you do a post-workout meal? Do you do anything straight after?
Look, if I'm training in the day at the gym, sometimes I'll have a protein shake and a bit of fruit after I train. But a lot of the time I do train just before dinner. So I find that my post-workout meal works quite fine just being dinner. And that is probably one of my biggest meals of the day because I am refueling my body.
How quickly do you try and get that into the body?
Within 2 hours. So I think everyone's going to be different, but I'll finish training at 6 and generally I'll eat at about 7 to 7:30. So as long as it's not pushing the 2 hour mark, then I feel quite good with that.
Yeah, cool. All right, and do you have like a wind down sort of?
Yeah.
process?
So 7 o'clock I'll start cooking dinner. That's generally when I'm home from the gym. At the same time, I'll prep my lunch for the next day. I'm not someone that likes to spend all Sunday prepping. Some people that works really well, and I have done that in the past. I know my partner prefers that, so we will prep his food, but I'm someone that I love just cooking my dinner and cooking a little bit more for the next day. So I'll do that at the same time. I feel like you're not wasting any extra time. You're literally doing it at the same time, so why not do it? Do your lunch. I'll sit down, have dinner at about 7:30, and then at around 8 o'clock when you're sort of winding down, TV's on, I'll spend some time stretching and foam rolling. I find that my recovery is so much better when I do that, and my training is so much better.
So how long do you spend or dedicate to that recovery?
Generally about 20 minutes. There's a program called ROMWOD which you can get online, and it's an excellent sort of yoga but for lifting or I suppose CrossFit recovery session, and they'll take you through a really good routine that it's great for opening your hips up, stretching out your shoulders, and just really giving you a full body recovery as well. I'll do that from 8 to 8:30. You're watching TV, you may as well do something at the same time. You know, it's a no-brainer really.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
What time is bedtime? What's your must? What's your?
I'll make sure that I'm all showered, I'm ready to go to bed at about 9 o'clock. If it's pushing it too much further, I just know that I'm not going to be able to get to sleep, especially when I'm up at 5:30, and because I'm training, I want to maximise my recovery. So I aim to get at least 8 hours of sleep. I know for some people that's quite challenging, but if you are really wanting to get the most out of your training, recovery and results, I cannot stress how important sleep is. It really does. It just helps balance your hormones, keep everything level, helps you with your recovery. It aids in fat loss as well. So, you know, something as simple as just getting an extra hour of sleep might just be, you know, the difference between losing a few kilos or putting on an extra few kilos of muscle as well.
Okay, so something we haven't touched on before. I've got a real question about your training, but something we haven't touched on is your water intake.
Yeah.
And we see it here, and our coffee intake.
Yeah.
What's your goal, or what is your kind of minimum, maximum sort of range you like to work in?
My minimum water intake is 3 litres of water a day. If I'm doing a cardio session, I'll absolutely drink more, and that's water. So on top of that, I'm having a smoothie. I've got a lot of water in my veggies as well. So I carry like a big bottle of water. It's not too big, but it's a litre. So I just make sure that I get through 3 of these. I add essential oils to mine. That just helps me drink a little bit more water. Some people love to put lemon or mint or something in there that just helps them drink more. But essential oils helps me get this down. The other thing is, because I am a massive coffee drinker, and that will be probably the one thing that I'm personally working on in this challenge, I'll admit I probably have 3 of these a day. My goal in the challenge is to keep that to 2. So obviously the more coffee you have, the more dehydrated you're going to be. So adding a little bit of extra water, so whether that be an extra cup per coffee, I think it's really important just to realise how much more dehydrated it does make you.
So just coming back, you made a comment about your training,
Yep.
like 45 minutes to an hour, go hard.
Yeah.
And I noticed in your diary, and we sort of looked at your week
Yeah.
a little bit earlier before we hit record, was you really only train once a day.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes maybe it'll turn into twice a day.
Yeah. I do 1 session a day. I touched on intensity before, and this is something I have been working one-on-one with my clients. I've really noticed actually yesterday and today, talking about the intensity. I think if we spend hours and hours training, you're just going to wear yourself out. You're going to get really tired. You're going to be grumpy. You're probably going to get quite snappy, and you won't want to do anything else with your day. If you spend half an hour to an hour giving it everything you've got in that session, and then focusing on the recovery as well, so that being your nutrition, your sleep, your stretching and foam rolling, getting a massage, just really focusing on that recovery side, that's when the results are going to happen. So that's when your body's worn out. We need to focus on the repair. We need to focus on refueling ourselves so that it's ready to go back to that session, but also it's building that muscle. You don't want to, otherwise you're walking around with torn muscles. We're not focusing on that repair process as well, which is just as important.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so how do you get this in every day, or do you give yourself days off where the diary doesn't become your focus?
Yeah.
Or we didn't touch on as well how you kind of summarise that diary in the evening, but we hit you guys out with an email yesterday. Hopefully you read up about how we want you to focus at the end of the day, and really putting some importance down on giving yourself some feedbacks, maybe in that recovery time.
Yeah.
But we sort of just chatted through your near perfect day, how you aim for your day to go. Is that every day, Ruby?
My job is so varied. So I'll have a day where I might be having clients at 7, and then I'll be working on a project here at the gym, so that'll be a few hours, and then I've got nutrition plans to do in the afternoon. So all my day, every day is different for me. So I find it really, really important to actually plan my week at the start of the week, because I know what's coming. I know what meals that I need to pack. I know when to schedule my training sessions. I am someone that if I don't book in my training sessions and I go to classes and I have PT sessions with a trainer, if I don't have those sessions booked in, I'm not going to get my training in. I'm not someone that can follow a program. Everyone's going to be different, but I just need them to be booked in. Otherwise, for my busy life, they're just not going to happen. So really focusing on planning my week allows me to get the results that I'm after, but also make sure that everything in my week, when it comes to work, when it comes to seeing friends, everything gets done. So planning is the key. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Guys, that's it from us. We really wanted to give you a bit of a picture of how as coaches we aim to make our days happen, our week happen. If you've got any questions on that, by all means, hit us up. We'll try and get back to you as quickly as we can. We hope that if anything this week, the number one thing you're going to try and do is preparation.
Yeah.
Into your day, into your week, into your meals, into your training. And if that's all that happens this week, hey, there's at least a tick there knowing that you can start to accomplish that the following week. So great job. We've got some live workshops coming up soon. We've got some more videos coming up soon. We've got some great chats later on in the transformation about life hacks and about some of the science behind why we do what we do. But we're looking forward to seeing you all in the club.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
See you soon.